It's a real privilege for me to be able to share the stage here with Sarah Garber and Randy Carr, and you'll hear a little bit more from them later on. I'm going to give just a few introductory comments about the STEP program. It's been in operation for about 14 years now. We'll do a little introduction so you know what it is, and then we're going to spend the most of the time interviewing these friends. Just a few little background comments on the STEP program. Today in Washington, D.C., the reason there aren't representatives from the Nepali Burmese congregation is that their two church leaders are attending STEP in Washington, D.C. today. Sorry, we planned it on the same day, or you planned it on the same day. Step in, step out. Step into class and leadership training, step out into ministry. And Keon mentioned Donna. She happens to be in the picture of that graduating class right there in the back row. She is there beside kind of in the middle with the light hair. STEP is really it's a collaborative program. It's a curriculum that's designed for adult learners as part-time study, actual ministry practice, coupled with assignments, forms the basics for lively learning in community. STEP is about basics. It's about basics in ministry leadership. And in the current year, we have 3 cohorts that are operating. 1 in Washington, D.C. in their second year, they're meeting today, and 3 here in Lancaster. And they met last Saturday. This is kind of the tagline. STEP teaches the basics of congregational ministry leadership for pastors, those exploring a call, and other leaders. STEP is discipleship training for congregational leaders at the first year college level. And it's really a collaborative operation, a collaborative mission. The curriculum is co-owned by Eastern Mennonite University, who is my employer, and Lancaster Mennonite Conference. It's really developed jointly, and it's quite a partnership. As you know, in the current environment, it's an amazing partnership that has continued for these years. And recently, Virginia Mennonite Conference has expressed interest in bringing STEP to Harrisonburg in the fall, and we've had persons in STEP from Allegheny Conference, from Franconia Mennonite Conference, and from Atlantic Coast Conference as well. This is just sort of introduction, so when you hear these folks talk about this, you'll know what it is. STEP is a 3-year training program. Students join a cohort for the duration. A cohort is fancy education language for a class that starts together and stays together the whole way through. And classes meet one Saturday each month from September through May. Homework, we estimate, takes about 4 to 6 hours a week. We know some students wait till the last week before class to squeeze their homework in. Others are much more disciplined, and they tell me they spend more time than that. Confession is good for the soul, everyone. Participants enroll as students at EMU Lancaster, and each year of STEP yields 10 undergraduate credits. So this is one of the unique pieces about this. This is accredited. Graduates receive a certificate in pastoral ministry that can then be built on for an associate's degree. This is how it's set up, the academic design. Year 1, you earn 10 credits, pastoral topics, pastoral skills, pastoral formation. We're really creative with our titles. You can see year 2, pastoral topics 2, pastoral skills 2, and so on. And year 3, we got more creative, pastoral topics 3, but then we threw in leading a missional experiment and pastoral formation. Facts and figures, tuition is $3,300 a year for 10 credits. This started in 2004. We're now in our 13th year. We have over 100 graduates when you count the graduating class of 2017. And the current enrollment for cohorts, 36 students, and this year the year one group moved into online classroom, Google Classroom for doing their homework. That's the basics. I would like to have all of the STEP students present and graduates, and even part-time if you started and you didn't finish. Would you stand? You stand, just stand. I know there's a bunch of you here. Look at that. And STEP would not happen with teachers who are pastors, who have pastoral experience and who have passion for what they do. If you have taught in STEP over the 13 years or are currently teaching, would you stand? Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay, let's get on to the interview. Now, I want to let you know that I did send my list of questions to Sarah and to Randy, but what I didn't tell them is I can be a little dangerous with a microphone in my hand, and questions, there might be follow-up questions.
Well, as you can see, I didn't prepare notes. I might be one of the ones that waited till the last week to do my homework, so...
Can we take that diploma back?
Well, no.
Randy is a graduate, and you were introduced briefly to him beforehand from Beaver Dam Mennonite Church. And Sarah Garber from Bossler Mennonite Church is in year one, a current student. Anything else you want to say in sort of introducing yourselves? All right, I'm going to kick it off then.
Let's go.
Why STEP? Why did you take the dive? It's a pretty daunting dive, kind of off the 10-meter board down into the pool. Why did you do this? What were the factors that came together? And I'm going to look to you first, Randy, and give it a shot.
Well, I did it not by choice. I did not want to. You know, I heard our brother speak earlier about the Holy Spirit nudging him into ministry, and I could so relate. In fact, when he was sharing his story, there was tears in my eyes. I think it was 6 years ago, about this time of year, I had began feeling a call into ministry. And I was one, I didn't go to church to watch cartoons. I went to church because that's what my family did, and I didn't want to have my mom hounding me. So this was a very stressful time for me. As I'm sensing this call to ministry, I had my own life plans. I was going a different direction. I wanted nothing to do with it. In fact, I fought it for probably well over 6 months. But then slowly, every door that I had in my plans was slammed shut.
And you called me at the
Yes.
end of September,
Yes.
after the beginning of the school year, and you wondered whether you could still get in.
Yes. Actually, when we talked, it all sounded great, but you had said to me, well, come next summer, we'll talk more and get you enrolled for next year. But by this time, I had accepted God's call, and things just were falling into place. And I says, Mark, it sounds great, but I'm not waiting a year. And that's when I believe we hung up the phone, and a little bit later he called back and said, can you be here in October? And it just went from there. So.
Thank you very much. How about you, Sarah?
Yeah, well, I've been serving on the pastoral team at Bossler Mennonite Church for 6 years, I think, and counting, and was just feeling like as I agreed to take on my third term in that position that I was really ready and hungry for some more learning, some more training in ministry, and we weren't quite sure my husband and I were talking about it, weren't quite sure what direction that should take, and Claire Good had been our bishop for many years, and he had suggested STEP to me maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but I was just having our second child at that point and felt like that was too overwhelming to think about. And so as we were thinking about, well, what kind of training would be available, Mark emailed me out of the blue and said, would you be interested in thinking about STEP? So we kind of took that as a sign.
Somebody had suggested you to me.
Okay.
The Holy Spirit didn't talk to me.
Directly
Somebody
to you, okay.
else talked to me.
And it may have been Claire working there too, but the Holy Spirit through Claire, of course. But so that's kind of what directed us down that path for STEP. Met with Mark and looked into it and thought it was worth a shot.
First impressions, you guys. I mean, you show up to class on Saturday with strangers you don't know, and you say, what in the world have I gotten myself into? Well, you have orientation ahead of time, so that might help a little bit. You get your marching. No, you didn't have orientation.
No.
First impressions. What do you remember? Sarah, you want to take a crack?
Sure. So at orientation, I remember being impressed with the variety of students that were coming for STEP. Lots of different age groups, men and some women, and different ethnicities. So that was probably my first impression was, wow, this is really for anyone and everyone that is sensing a call.
Okay, how about you, Randy?
My first impression was a bit overwhelming. I'm a farm boy from Ohio, where there is no diversity. The diversity is in which color the cows you have in the field, and it just I
they're
wasn't
black and white.
Yes,
Usually.
yeah, I wasn't ready for that. It was a very overwhelming weekend, and also I felt that weekend, the very first weekend, I was being spiritually attacked. And it was all I could do not to turn the car around multiple times on the way there. Even wanted to get up that first day and leave, but I am so glad I did not. So glad.
Me too. STEP requires practice of ministry as being a student. You can't just show up to class and say, I'm learning, and then I'm going to go do afterwards. You have to do while you're in STEP. And it involves ministry activities. And what do you say to somebody who says, well, STEP, I understand, is just for pastors? I'm not a pastor. I'm not credentialed. Do I have any business being here? Take it away.
I would have to disagree with that. I would say the best way to describe STEP is almost more of discipleship training. Yes, I do feel I was prepared for the basic parts of pastoral ministry, but it encompassed every aspect of a discipleship journey with God.
And in your case, it did lead to a pastoral call.
Yes, yep.
This is part of the stepping out from ministry. Yeah. How about you? Have you felt I don't think you're credentialed?
No, I'm not.
How's it feel to be in class?
Yeah, it feels very natural to be in class. I'm curious if anybody in my cohort is credentialed. There may be some. Okay. Anyways, yeah, but the curriculum is geared very much that it's flexible. You don't have to be in a pastor role to get your field ministry training. It's been very flexible so far.
Okay. Give an experience, something that stands out so far, or in your case, from your complete experience, Randy. You sift it all out, and what's an experience, something concrete that stays with you, and then Sarah, you're into it about 6 months. What stays with you as something maybe emblematic of what STEP is?
I guess this is where I should have some notes to remember what I was thinking about earlier. You win, Mark, you win.
I'm praying over here, I'm praying.
I think what stands out to me the most as I'm on the flip side of actually being in class, as I've been completed now for almost 3 years, been working in full-time pastoral ministry in the last 3 years. What stands out the most is I think the growth and the relationships I've had with my cohorts, the students that took it along with me. In fact, I've seen a couple of them here last night. Many of them I've stayed in touch with, become very close friends with. But I can also say there's no doubt in my mind that this STEP program, just from my journey, what I experienced, what I heard our brother share earlier, there is no doubt in my mind that it's God ordained and He's using it, and that we should celebrate.
Great. Sarah, I'm kind of curious to hear what you're going to say.
Yeah, I hate the
stands out.
most questions. I hate questions that ask the most or
The
your
most,
favorite.
okay. Give me one.
But I think, as I think about STEP and try and paint a snapshot, I think about the class time and the homework almost as, not as separate, but as two different things. The class time, some of the snapshots that I think of are one of the classes, two of the classes that we have. One is a pastoral care instruction, and one is preaching. And in those classes, we have to present kind of our experiments, our preaching, and then we have to present also to the class cases of pastoral care. And then everybody in the cohort gives you some feedback on how you did, how you could have improved, or what was really great. And I think those times of watching each other grow in your skills as a cohort and also offering feedback and receiving feedback is kind of emblematic of the STEP program. But also with the homework, on that level, the interaction with the teachers and instructors has been very meaningful to me. Steve and Ann are here. They teach our spiritual formation class. That's been very meaningful, having their input into our spiritual lives, and lots of other instructors too. So that's probably where I would say
Thank you.
I've thought of the most.
When we talk with folks about STEP, there's usually two big barriers. One is the money, $3,300 a year. If you take the whole program, that's basically $10,000. It's a lot of money. And the second one is time. This is part-time, and people have full-time lives already. How do you shoehorn additional things into that? Those are impediments that we've heard time and again. And I'm just going to invite you, how do you guys manage it? How are you managing that, Sarah? You've got children at home, you're expecting another. I know that you're not quite sure what that means for STEP for next year, but that's the way it is for STEP students. Life happens, both celebration, difficulty, sometimes even tragedy. And the money piece. I don't care who wants to take a first crack at it.
All right. So the money piece, I just wanted to give a kind of a shout out for our church. My church, Bosler, has been very generous to help with finances. So that hasn't been a struggle for us at all. And so I just want to put it out there to you as churches, thinking of having students that might be ready to go through STEP. Support them if you can. You're the ones that are going to receive some of the benefits of their learning. So, whether it's a seasoned pastor or a high school graduate that is exploring, or a man or a woman or somebody that's going to be in an official role or not, if you can encourage your members of your congregations by supporting them financially, that would be awesome. But the time piece has been huge for me. I was laughing as I heard him talk about the facts. I'm one of those students who cannot keep my Mark's coming over here, nodding in affirmation. I can't keep my homework to 4 hours. Even 6 hours is difficult. And part of that is just my personality, and part of it is that STEP is very practical, especially in this first year, and so there's a lot that I want to explore with the homework. So that I'm still even figuring out how to balance that. I think some of the things that have kind of come to me for this first year is learning to value my sense of call to the point where I can say no to other things as important as they seem sometimes. Learning to be able to say, no, that has to wait. I had to back off of like our preschool board at church or a few other things that just weren't quite fitting with STEP into my schedule. And also, there is a huge flexibility kind of with a sliding scale, I feel like, for how much you can put in to the assignments. And I feel like Mark and the instructors are very aware of what you have going on in life. So it's not the typical maybe academic program where they're always pushing, give everything you have. They understand that you have life going on, and they're pretty flexible if you have to ask for a little bit of a extension on an assignment, or to ask for help or how to balance it.
Thanks. How about you, Randy?
I guess with the financial part of it, It's one of the reasons God had helped me see that this was ordained by Him, that He was calling me into ministry. The STEP program didn't cost me a dime. It just, as the bills came, people I knew from church, from elsewhere, covered them all without any asking, without sharing any needs. It just, the money came in to help cover all the tuition, plus the, 16,700 miles I traveled for STEP program.
You get the prize for driving the furthest for STEP.
I had to throw that in there. I couldn't help it. But it was, I would leave every weekend, and I'll switch over to time. I would leave every weekend Friday, usually in the afternoon, and travel. I lived in Eastern Ohio. And it was a 4.5-hour drive, so I would come in the night before. I stayed at a friend's house, different people's houses from time to time, and then go through class and then drive back Saturday night late because I had responsibilities at church. But with time, it did take a lot away from my family. So as we went through the program, my wife and I decided to make this as often as we can, make it a family thing. And so many journeys my 4 kids and my wife traveled out here. There's a lot to do in Lancaster. They went all over the place. They know things about this area that I have no clue about, but they had a really great time. But we made it in, we took the most of it and just embraced the time. And
Okay.
it was great. It really was.
Well, we're out of time. Anything else you'd like to say just briefly about that you've thought about you might want to say this morning? Just want to give a final word.
Yeah, I'll end with, I don't know how many people here, or if you're feeling a call into ministry or looking into the STEP program, or know somebody that is, if God is calling you to do it, please don't fight it. It's not worth it. Just go for it. Thank you.
Sarah, anything?
Yeah, I would just sort of echo, if you're even not sure if you're called, if you're kind of in that boat where you're thinking, well, that's a big step even to just claim that God is calling me to ministry. Even if you're not sure, I think STEP is a really helpful place in discerning and kind of pushing into that a little bit.
Okay, thank you.